Welcome, I'm Melinda Akinlami. Tonight, Presidential Election Petition Tribunal reserves ruling in the suit filed by PDP and its candidate seeking access to the server of the smart card reader used in the conduct of the February 23rd election. Former Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha finally takes oath of office as senator in the 9th Assembly after receiving certificate of return from INEC. 9th Assembly House of Rep members hold first plenary, formally informs President Buhari about the election of his principal officers. And U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo blames Iran for what he describes as a blatant assault on 2 oil tankers owned by Japan and Norway in the Gulf of Oman.
On business news tonight, Bankers Committee of the Central Bank announces partnership with Pension Commission to provide more access to mortgage financing for Nigerians.
On sports news tonight, Real Madrid unveiled their latest Galactico as Belgian star Eden Hazard is officially presented to fans and the media at the Santiago Bernabeu.
And from Abuja, President Buhari receives high-profile visitors from across Africa, including Liberian President George Weah at the State House in Abuja.
The Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has reserved ruling in the application filed by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Atiku Abubakar requesting access to the server and data of the smart card reader used in the conduct of the February 23rd presidential election. Justice Mohammed Garba reserved ruling shortly after all the counsel in the case argued their briefs. The respondents in the case, that's the President, the APC and the Independent National Electoral Commission, asked the tribunal to dismiss the application. Our correspondent Amaka Okafo has the rest of the story.
It's another day at the Presidential Election Tribunal as the tribunal continued with the pre-trial hearing of all the applications before it. One of the applications is by the People's Democratic Party and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar requesting for an order to inspect the server of the Independent National Electoral Commission, its card readers and other electoral materials used for the election.
We came here when there was no petition filed, and the law allows it. There were no parties. We were just the only applicants. We came ex parte to ask for leave to inspect in order to commence a petition. It was not in this petition. It was not in this case. That was a different matter. And they keep forgetting that they themselves also came to this court before the petition was filed. APC came and applied for leave to inspect, and this court also granted them a similar leave. So the stage we are now is the stage of interlocutory applications between both parties. We now have parties. We didn't do this behind their back, and we are not even asking for leave to us as a party alone. We're asking for leave to them too, if they so desire.
But counsel to the President, INEC and the All Progressive Congress all asked the tribunal to strike out the application for various reasons. While counsel to INEC told the tribunal that the commission does not have any server, lead counsel to President Buhari, Mr. Wale Olanipekun, told the tribunal that it lacked jurisdiction to overrule itself as a similar order had been made and granted by the court. Counsel to the APC, Mr. Latif Fagbemi, urged the tribunal to be wary of making an order which it is not capable of enforcing because INEC has said it has no server.
We have responded by filing our reply, which of course means that we are opposing the application on so many grounds, and we leave the court to decide that it's of no use to be arguing here, especially because the court has not taken a position.
Earlier in the sitting, the tribunal heard the motion filed by INEC, the President and the All Progressive Congress, urging it to dismiss the petition of the Hope Democratic Party and its presidential candidate, Mr. Ambrose Oworu, for being incompetent and abuse of court process. Amaka Okafo, Channels Television News.
In the National Assembly, former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, has been sworn in as a senator by the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan. Senator Okorocha took the oath of office today after the Independent National Electoral Commission issued him a certificate of return on Tuesday. INEC had earlier withheld Mr. Okorocha's certificate after he was accused of forcing a returning officer to declare him as winner. Our correspondent, Terry Kumi, has this report.
President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, arrives the Red Chamber for the first plenary of the 9th Senate. It's about 15 minutes past 10 in the morning, and the chamber is unusually filled with senators. After the votes and proceedings are adopted, the clerk of the Senate swears in the former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, who missed the swearing-in of other members on the 11th of June, as he was yet to receive his certificate of return from the electoral body following a court order. Just before the first business of the day, a point of order on the president's speech delivered on Democracy Day is raised but suffers a setback.
The matter of urgent public importance that I am bringing before this Senate has to do with the Democracy Day speech of President Muhammadu Buhari, CFR, of 11 June 2019.
Those in favor that we take the motion as moved by Senator Jiang, say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it.
Then a lawmaker, quoting the Constitution, calls for a change of the titles Senate President and Deputy Senate President.
Whatever we do must be consistent, even the language that is used on the floor of this Senate must be consistent with the provisions of the Senate rules as well as the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended. They provide for President of the Senate, not the Senate President, as it is in this other paper, not Deputy Senate President, as it is.
Ask the Secretary to take note, and that was the ruling on the motion on the point of order raised by Michael Bamidele Opeyemi.
The Senate also resolves to send messages to President Muhammadu Buhari, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, and international parliamentary bodies, informing them that a quorum of the 9th National Assembly has been formed and is ready to receive any communication. Then the Senate goes into a closed-door session and resumes about an hour later.
Following the housekeeping issues raised, the Senate will set up an ad hoc committee to work with the management of the National Assembly for the allocation of our seats in the Senate and allocation of offices as well.
The Senate adjourns to 2nd July 2019, by which time seats and offices would have been allocated to the senators. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, Senator Okorocha is still worried about INEC's decision to appeal the court ruling that ordered the commission to issue him a certificate of return. The Imo West senator insists he never held the returning officer for his senatorial election hostage and described as baseless the allegation that informed the decision of the electoral body to withhold his certificate. The delay in Mr. Okorocha's admission into the Senate follows the controversy that trailed the announcement of the Imo West senatorial district election result. The returning officer that supervised the election had declared that he announced the result under duress.
It will be very surprising to see that INEC will go on appeal on this matter because there's no basis for it at all. And if we have to dwell into this matter, which is known to all of you and all Nigerians, that in the first place, the accusation before me was that of duress. In other words, duress means using mild force or excessive force to compel somebody to do something he or she does not want to do. But how would you have carried out an act of duress in a returning hall where you have the SSS, the police, and you have the agents of the party, and everyone there watching, and in my own person as a executive governor, working maybe gun or machete or something, asking them to write a result on my behalf. That never happened. If there was a duress assuming, I think INEC would have set up a committee to find the facts, whether it is correct or not. So INEC simply became a judge in their own matter. If a committee was set up to review whether actually there was a duress or not, then they will come up to say, yes, Rochas did this, and they will have a course of action. But in this case, they assume whatever somebody told them 5 days after election has been concluded, announced, declared. Somebody came up to issue of duress, and you accept to be a reality, the truth, without any evidence.
In the lower legislative chamber, the House of Representatives has formally written to President Muhammadu Buhari, informing him of the election of a new Speaker and Deputy Speaker. This is part of decisions reached by lawmakers at their first plenary session under Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila. Our correspondent Narila Sisi has this report.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives making his way into the chamber for the first time. A short drama occurs as he moves to take his seat to preside over the plenary session.
Do solemnly affirm.
His first task is to oversee the swearing-in of a lawmaker from Sokoto State, Representative Musa Sarkin Ada.
So help me God.
The Speaker then reads a message directing the Senate and the President of the country to be notified that the House had formed a quorum and elected a Speaker and Deputy Speaker.
That the clerk to the National Assembly do advise the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to inform the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that the House had been properly constituted and ready to receive any messages he may wish to transmit.
A lawmaker moves what should be the first motion of urgent public importance of the 9th House. It is then put to a vote.
Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay.
The Speaker is forced to intervene.
This is our colleague's first outing, and I think it's important that we work together to make our first outing a good outing. So I will crave your indulgence that we do this again.
He then puts the question for a second time.
Those in support of the motion say aye. Aye. The ayes have it.
The House then dissolves into a closed-door session. Over 2 hours later, the doors are thrown open. The Speaker reveals the composition of 3 ad hoc committees and immediately adjourns plenary. The House has adjourned plenary to the 2nd of July. It's expected that within this break, some issues will be attended to, such as office accommodations for lawmakers and the setting up of relevant standing committees of the House that will enable lawmakers get on with the business of the House. Landry Lassisi, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, lawmakers promised to put aside partisan politics and focus on legislation and the overall interest of their people as more states inaugurate their houses of assembly. Stay with us.